This is A Line Around Your Thoughts, a podcast that centers on conversations with artists, writers, musicians, and creatives from around the Inland Northwest. I'm your host, E.J. Iannelli. We're joined in the Roquehart Media Studio today by Danny Anderson, who is now leading My Turn Theater, which is an organization that provides performing arts opportunities to adults with disabilities. And you are also an actor in your own right, and we're going to get into that, but welcome, Danny.
Thank you. Happy to be here. I'm an open book.
So with My Turn Theater, I thought it would be useful, and we have already kind of had a similar conversation along these lines for an Inlander story.
Sure.
But I figured it would be helpful here to kind of revisit some of the history of My Turn, which can be traced back all the way to, I think, Coeur d'Alene and Out of the Shadows Theater to, 2010? Is that right? Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that's about right. My journey didn't start with them till a couple years ago, so I can give a brief history of the theater, and if there's discrepancies, don't hold me accountable.
Exactly.
But loosely, started with Wendy Carroll and choreographer we were talking about. Here we go.
Already
right there. At
blank.
least I'm honest. Okay. Yeah. Wendy Carroll started it in Coeur d'Alene, Out of the Shadows,
And Lorna Hamilton was also
that's
involved.
What I was looking for. Yeah. And they did, I think, 5 or 6 productions out of there. Again, as you said, it's her son is special needs, and she is an actor herself, and just saw this void for opportunities for people on the spectrum or with disabilities. So that was the initial thought of the theater, and she willed it into existence and had a good run out there and passed it off. Jamie Shario now runs what was Out of the Shadows. I think it goes by a different name.
Yeah, it's CDA Act.
That's right.
Now.
That's
right.
Right.
Is what Out of the Shadows in Coeur d'Alene morphed into CDA ACT.
I'm glad I have my expert here. So she's running that out there now, and My Turn had come to Spokane, where they did 3 or 4 shows. I saw Guys and Dolls in probably 2022, 2021. And if you haven't seen a My Turn show, it is just one of the best shows you'll ever see. They're just inspiring, hilarious, motivational. You cry through the whole show. You leave like, what am I not conquering in my life? If these brave souls can get up there and just thrive. I was just fully moved, and instantly went after the show, seek her out, see when the next production was, how I could be a part of it. And just to keep talking, that's where I went. The next show I did Beauty and the Beast with them, 2023. Mm-hmm. And they have shadow actors. I don't know. I can just ramble if you want to guide me.
Go into that model, because I think, that is so key. And I think it can be traced back to the name Out of the Shadows.
100%.
Where you have these shadow actors, and that is a key component of this whole setup.
Yeah. So that's where I joined with Beauty and the Beast. And so each of we try to cast everyone who auditions. So sometimes we can have a lot of, for instance, we're doing Lion King right now. It's like, well, maybe we have a lot of hyenas or whatever, but the model is inclusivity, and we really try to stick to that. So everyone's on board, but with that, we try to attach a shadow actor, essentially a mentor, a professional actor, or sometimes their caretaker or a family member who is with them not only through the whole rehearsal process, but even on stage during the show. Our shadow actor is kind of dressed in black. He's kind of trying to tuck behind him a little bit, not draw attention, and it's easy not to because they are so outstanding. You are focusing on my actors, not the shadow actors. And they carry a script. We dress in black, hide behind them, carry a script. If they forget a line, you whisper it in their ear. If they're going off stage left but need to go stage right, you poke them in the ribs a little. And it's really forms these great bonds, makes them completely secure on stage with those mentors, and creates wonderful shows. So I participate as a shadow actor for The Beast and Beauty and the Beast, and formed a deep friendship with Brian Peterson, I think is his name, Peterson.
Yeah, and you went out to the movies a couple times, didn't you?
Yeah, we're going to Superman on Monday, and especially now that I'm producing, and we'll get into that more, but the relationships are profound. Mm-hmm. And that's where I moved from Beauty and the Beast, and then next there was a big break in between shows, so 2 years, and it was people like Brian reaching out, when's our next show? When are we going to do it again? And I don't know. And I reached out to Wendy, and she had moved to Los Angeles, kind of better weather for her and her son. She's getting a little older, and he's got different needs. And we had a conversation. She was basically asked me, if I wanted to kind of pick up the torch. And I had to be honest, say I was kind of felt this coming. I think, it was meant to be. So that's how I fell into this position of running the theater, which has been a unique challenge for me. I've got a long record of shows I've been in, 100 plays, films, TV, all that fun stuff. But I've always been an actor. I've never directed, never stage managed, crew. I've just been an actor's actor. And to step back and be in this real leadership role is just very fulfilling for me. I've hired a great team. I have 2 directors, choreographer, stage manager, 3 music directors, so everyone can kind of spread the weight. Because volunteer, it's a nonprofit. Volunteer is it's a lot to give up your time, especially in the summer, which is going to be our slot perpetually into the future. And walking in, like after this, I'll get there late tonight after this interview, and walking in and just see it all running,
Yeah.
So I have no real role at this point. I've put everyone in place, and the greatest leadership team. So don't get me wrong, I plug holes outside of the theater all the time, and I'm running around making posters today. I've got stuff to do, but in the space, I get to just bounce from piano practice over here, vocal lessons over here, scene work over here with these 2, the main stage rehearsal going on. And really kind of be that big brother, honestly, with all of these actors. I'm a pretty cool, friendly dude, and they connect to that. And so I love this leadership position, producing, running My Turn Theater, and just bouncing around, hanging out with my dudes, my girls, my actors, pumping everyone up. And it's a great group.
Yeah, but you say stepping back into a leadership role, but it's really kind of stepping up. Because to go from an audience member with Guys and Dolls and saying, oh, this is pretty cool, I want to be part of this, and then going on stage with Beauty and the Beast, Junior, I should point out, because the junior productions offer a little more flexibility. But then moving up to that, and then all of a sudden kind of wearing the mantle of the entire organization, that's a pretty heavy progression right there.
100%. And that doesn't even include the things of kind of really restarting the nonprofit.
Yeah.
We had to pass over banking information. I formed new deals with rental spaces as far as our rehearsal space. That's not our performance space. Picking up everything, getting insurance, all stuff that I've never, ever had to deal with on a professional level. But it's been worked really well and has been very fulfilling. And I'm finding I'm pretty good at it too. And that's one of the big wins that I've gotten with taking over. My Turn has never had a theater, right? So they're always kind of a floating theater, or Gonzaga, the Bing, SFCC.
Well, and they started out, at the Croc, which is,
exactly.
Again, another good home to a lot of organizations,
Totally.
But they were always kind of floating, weren't
Always
they?
floating,
Yeah.
and so there's no consistency. So that's hard for the audiences. When's the next show? And then definitely the actors being neurodivergent. Consistency is kind of a key. Even with our leadership people, we like to have the same people, keeps them comfortable in the space, and they want to know when the next show is. And so I have a lot of friendships in the industry, theater and film locally, and through that I'd be able to use those connections to partner with Spokane Civic Theatre. So Jake Schaefer and I had a talk, and we got a contract, and I think it's the most appropriate home for My Turn too. The community theater, and this is community that we are uplifting. So we should be doing the summer slot there with them kind of indefinitely until things change, or we get world famous recognition. I can buy them our own theater, but that's been a really big win for me. And so those are the kind of things I haven't usually had to do. I'm just a line learner. Look at me, guy. And it's fun to be behind the scenes and let out of the shadows. Let someone else do it. I've done it. And this is the best group to support and promote.
And so you've got this upcoming production. I think it opens August 2nd.
August 2nd through the 10th.
Yeah, and so you've got this upcoming production, which is going to be at the Civic, which is kind of your new home during the summer months, which is fantastic. And you've got folks like Lisa Edwards, who's helping you out. Is she co-directing this production? Yeah,
Heather McHenry Crutch and Lisa Edwards are co-directing. Totally.
And I know that Heather had involvement with My Turn Theater prior to this. This is Lisa's first time, though, no?
Lisa participated, I think, in Coeur d'Alene. An older show. I don't think in a leadership position. I think maybe shadow acting, Again, don't fact check me, but definitely. And that is consistent with what I'm saying. Using the same people is helpful. I mean, don't get me wrong, we'll take all the help we can get. Come be one of our consistent new people. But I do seek out people who have done it before. Some people are gifted at working with neurodivergent people, or have more patience, or just the heart for it. And I think Heather and Lisa definitely fall into that boat.
Yeah, and in terms of your shadows, these are folks who are experienced actors and directors. In for example, you got Dawn Taylor Reinhardt.
Right.
She's got experience on both on stage and in the director's chair. You got Tommy Hepler,
Yep.
Who's helping out. You've got Patrick McHenry-Crutch.
Spokane stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so it's kind
real.
of a who's who of folks who are very experienced actors in their own right.
Right.
And then they're coming and helping out with this.
Which is such a gift, right?
Yeah.
And again, not all of our shadows, and there are caretakers or family members or even people who just moved and have joined the crew. But we have found a lot of very talented, almost iconic Spokane stars, and what a cool thing for our actors to be mentored by such talent, beautiful, kind people who really know what they're doing, because there's a lot to it, getting up on stage, you're blocking, you're everything, learning lines. There's a lot of tricks and everything else that we all had to learn over the years. So be able to just pass that on to them directly. Not only is that a huge gift to them, but it helps the show move along, when you don't have to beat in the basics and go around and around. Sorry, I'm sweating. I don't know what I'm not going to say that. Yeah, so I'm grateful to have them assisting with everything, and they can sing along too and support. So to have talented, know-it-all actors like those three with us is a real gift.
And so with the Lion King Jr., how did you settle on that, or do you just kind of go? Is there a stock pool of productions that you're like, okay, this is the stuff we can draw on?
Yeah, I was looking through it all. It's been 2 years, and I did want. I mean, you always want the best show, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're trying to pick. I was limited to. I made the decision when we did Beauty and the Beast. We found some of these Disney Junior shows have digital backdrops.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're really beautiful stage projections that go behind you, so you don't need scene changes. You can have real minimalist props and everything else. And since we are limited in our theater space, our theater time, again, we're working out of a church right now. We don't get to the Civic Theater till a few days before our performance. Yeah. So we got to load in. And we can't have them. They're doing a show right now. We don't have the luxury of building our own sets and stuff. And that's a lot more work and volunteers. And these backdrops are beautifully animated. So you really feel like you are in a Disney movie. And they change on their own. So you're on Pride Rock. You're in Scar's Cave. They're even animated. The fires burn or the trees blow, and it's really effective that we used during Beauty and the Beast. And I thought, let's just stick with that model and use those again. So I went off a list that had access to those digital backdrops. Excuse me. From there, it was just kind of the best show, and we ended up with Lion King. Yeah.
And I'm very interested to hear that about the digital backdrops, because those have become more and more common. You find more and more theaters, in just standard productions using digital projections. Yeah. But it also lends a certain amount of professionalism to the show.
Sure.
Because, you are dealing with the kind of the amateurist of amateur actors. And so, as hard as they're working, when you have a kind of a beautiful backdrop to look at as well, it does kind of up the level of the show.
It really does. And all of those things are true for typical performances with professional actors or something. Once you add the costumes, once you add the beautiful set, once you add the props, the music, or last night we added kind of the songs in between songs, coming onto the stage, or sound effects, and we were worried that was going to throw people like it can for any production. Mm-hmm. But instead, it really motivates you. So yeah, you see that, you feel you're just legit, and being on the big main stage at Civic Theater alone is very exciting for the actors and the whole team. That's Broadway here for my actors.
But do the actors require a certain amount of reassurance? Like, is stage fright a thing?
Well,
Or do they know that they have so many supporters in the audience that it's kind of hard to feel the same stage fright as you would with a show where you're like, oh man, people are going to be extremely critical of me?
I think it really aligns with your typical production stage fright with any actor. This is something we're all going to have on different levels, but there's a seriousness and a devotion to the work you've put in that when you get up there, I think people who aren't actors think like, yeah, are you going to run off kind of thing? And there really isn't that worry. You know, they're going to have it. We're going to talk through it. Again, just like a typical production. And at the end of the day, they want to get out there.
Yeah.
They're proud of the work they're doing, and facing that fear is part of it. So maybe opening night can be kind of the worst. And once you're through that, you're always like, all right, we can do this. Once you know you can. But we will know by our dress rehearsals and everything else. And last night was just a great example. We had 3 or 4 days off. Or Tuesday night, our first night back this week. And we're kind of getting to that time where time to take it a little more seriously. You know, if you're not on stage, you're quiet over here in the cafeteria, or if you're not prepared to walk on, we're not have a stage, we don't have wings yet, we're in a church, but you know, everyone shut up and get to it. And at the end of our rehearsal, you know, I looked at Heather and Lisa grinning, shrugging, and we were all like, you know, we've got a show. You know, they've leveled up over 3 days in leagues we couldn't have even predicted. Still we're getting closer, clunky, and then goosebumps, smiles, tears, and laughter, like it's coming. And we're like, okay, now we can start worrying about other details, like our actors are in. And so when you talk about stage fright, we've been doing this for almost 3 months.
Yeah.
You know, they're ready, and it's just part of it. And as an actor who gets addicted to this kind of stuff, you start to crave that. I almost miss a little stage fright. I've done it so much, like, because that puts that pep in your step. You know, a little bit of adrenaline can be good for you. But I'm confident they're just excited to play. And, you know, after a show with them, the buzz in the lobby with these actors, you know, might as well be the Oscars, you know, that kind of attention. It's for anyone, for, you know, typical actors as well. You know, it's nice to be noticed and seen and recognized and proud of, you know, a strong achievement. And for my actors, they don't have that opportunity as much as we do. Yeah. So they just thrive in it, and it's really great to share.
Yeah, and if it is just one show at the moment, just one show annually, then, you know, there's a lot riding on this for the participants.
And it's been 2 years. They've been waiting a long time. Yeah, they're ready for it.
So with this Lion King Jr. show, about how large is your cast?
Well, I said, we try to cast everyone who's involved.
Yeah, so what number does that put us at?
This show, probably the biggest in a while, but we're at about 30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, about 30 actors. And then rounding out volunteers and leadership team, that's about another 30. We don't have exactly one shadow for every actor in this.
Yeah, I saw some folks are doubling up. Yeah.
Sure. But then the leadership team, so that's about 60. So I show up to this church 3 nights a week, and it's like, I have brought together a massive team of artists, and it's exciting, to have them all together. That's also, the community is a big part of it. We talked about, can we find a nuanced schedule where so-and-so doesn't have to come tonight because we're working on Act 2 or this or that, or you can leave when you're done with this scene. And we've really landed on, also for ease of it all, but just that we're all there all the time. And part of my argument was, they want to be. We want to be. This is, you know, it's not work or one of these jaded artists who's like, I'm done with my scene, ready to go. This is fun for them. This is community, all making new friends, being seen in a different light. And the miracle stories, you know, it kind of never stop. You know, one of my actors hasn't spoken in a couple of years. Now she's singing and dancing. Or a parent said, you know, my son hasn't had joy since Beauty and the Beast, and we're so grateful he's back and he's found his joy again. And then just seeing them all thrive together and make new friendships, don't have to feel awkward or present in any kind of way, is really the heart of My Turn Theater.
Yeah, and that's one of the things it touches on one of the things that we had already talked about in our previous conversation, which was that there is so much more of a community here. I mean, theater is its own community.
Sure.
And folks build relationships, but sometimes those relationships are kind of circumstantial. And
Sure.
that they're around a certain production, you work really intensely together, and then you move on.
Yeah.
But these relationships tend to last beyond they tend to transcend that production.
I think so. I mean, even with me, I mean, to be completely honest, I am one of those actors that theater is like compared to like church camp or, something leadership camp, but you love hard and fast. You make strong connections fast because you have to trust each other so much and you spend so much time for a unique small amount of time. And then when it's over, like you said, it does go away. And I've done 100 plays and I have different experience with casts that try to stick together after, and there's always this dwindling, and I'm always kind of one of the quicker ones to dwindle. It's like no hard feelings, but we're on to the next thing. I love you, I'll see you out there, but we're adults,
I love you, but I'll see you
later.
This
is just real life. Yeah. If I was still deep friends, closest friends with every show I've been with, I'd have too many friends, but in the sweetest way. Inversely, I'm still talking to these guys, right? I still got some of my guys here, and definitely their connections. Two of my actors are hanging out on Friday. We might get into some other details about the documentary stuff. But I was talking about coming and seeing them. I'm like, these guys were enemies on the last show, and now they're playing video games and hanging out. And so that speaks to that connection that we're able to bring together with the theater.
Well, since you brought it up,
yeah.
The documentary is something that's kind of on the horizon.
Yeah.
It's not a done deal, but it's certainly something that you're considering. So, share more information about what your plans are for the documentary.
Well, starting up the theater, this is just a conceptual idea with essentially the popularity of Level on the Spectrum was kind of the thing. It was a friend of mine, Mike Busto, a little shout out, Mikey. Said, why don't you film what you guys are doing there? It's a beautiful thing. It sells itself. And I have those resources. I know those people. So I reached out to the filmmakers I know and started talking to or figuring out the options for that. And I landed with, my first pick, honestly, but Adam Harum, a local filmmaker that I've worked with before. He's worked on 10 reality shows, so like award-winning documentary in Haiti, and he's just a legit filmmaker, and then has done industrial stuff locally in Spokane. But for a year and a half, I think he's kind of moved away from that job, either no artistic value, also he's fine, doesn't need it. When the work
isn't that nice?
When the art becomes work, I think is kind of where he was. And I reached out to him, and he's like, "This is what I've been waiting for." Ethically interesting, artistic piece to dive into. And, I'm like, hey, it's just you too. I don't have any money or anything. And he's like, no, I love it. I want to do it all, no yes man or anyone stopping his vision. And he joined in and he said, he just agreed that it was perfect. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. There is the popularity with like Level on the Spectrum, and some spin-offs. All dating is kind of the impetus of those. And this is more, talent, achievement.
Yeah.
Can you rise above? So a different look at what people on the spectrum are capable of. And at the end, it's just the payoff is, the pure joy. So, there is a dream of maybe we've been doing Disney properties. Maybe this is how I buy them a theater, and we can sell this to Disney Plus. And these are big dreams, but ones that I'm not afraid of, and I really believe are within our grasps. And outside of that, maybe it's marketing stuff or just a documentary for the cast. That's all good too. But it's happening, and we're making it, and it feels like it's working. So he comes, gets footage through the rehearsals,
and that stuff has been feeding into your social media. If I'm assuming, because the camera work on the social media, for example, some of the reels that you've shared on Instagram and whatnot, they're really well done.
Well, that might be just me, actually. But
kudos to you.
Which is nice because I do make content in videos and stuff, and I have learned a lot over the years.
And it really makes it look sexy. I have to say, it looks really appealing.
Yeah.
Just and it really captures the dynamism and the energy of what's going on. So I was kind of wowed by what you're doing on social media.
Thank you. And that is a cool thing with me and Adam, because we're close and no one's stepping on each other's toes. And a lot of times I'm quick to check in, like, hey, you don't have to do this, or I invited him here tonight. Like, if you're available, you can always say no. And he's like, oh, that would have been great, because we could have interviewed him too. I couldn't find another guest, but he could have also filmed. But I'm like, if you can't, you can't. And he couldn't, so that's fine. But also, I am filming there. So in a sense, it is footage that definitely potentially we're going to use in the documentary, but it is outside of his. So when he's not there, I'm catching B-roll stuff, little things. But when he is there, like I said, we've set up our interview chair, just like you see in your reality shows. They're rehearsing, bring one in at a time. He's in the chair. Some are nervous, some are ecstatic. The interviews are dynamic and really fun. And you're like, oh, this is...
And probably unpredictable.
It's all unpredictable. There's no dull moment at My Turn Theater. My friend said, I was just coming out for rehearsal, just really high on life. And he's like, well, you're hanging out with a room of puppies all night. It's that beautiful, pure, innocent energy, honestly. And they're having so much fun, it can't help but bleed into you. So the interviews, and then we just started doing, I keep saying, like off-campus stuff. So on Tuesday, we went to one of my actors works at the Carousel at Riverfront Park doing tickets. And so we're like, well, let's get out of this. Right now, everything's in this church. And eventually, we're going to be in Civic. The colors are going to change and the costumes are going to be there. So we'll have that Wizard of Oz kind of switch. And then the interview space. But we need more, right? And so getting Kiki working the Carousel. I hopped on the Carousel. I got some footage of her from there. Going to Superman with Brian and Adam, my filmmaker, on Monday. And part of that is one of our dates. But I'm like, well, let's do a walk and talk and get popcorn and check out the posters and interview Brian outside of the theater. And one of my actors, Hannah, forgive me, I don't know her last name. She's playing Nala, and one of my favorite stars in this. She's going to blow your mind. She's talented, beautiful, sweet. She really is a star. And so we're going to do a walk and talk through the Rose Garden on Monaco next week. And so we're building in these other things to see a slice of life outside of the theater and how they found it. And we're really excited about it.
Yeah, and it seems to me, I'll confess, I haven't seen Love on the Spectrum, but it seems to me that the premise of that is a little voyeuristic. And I find something like a theatrical production a little more sincere and a little more authentic.
Sure.
Because here you have a challenge to which the actors have to rise. Yeah. Whereas, Love on the Spectrum, it just seems like we're kind of peering into, what the dating world must be like. And so maybe that's being presumptuous on my part, but I like the premise of a theatrical production a lot more.
Yeah, and that's a consistent critique of Love on the Spectrum, but I would say, do yourself a treat. I can never find anything on Netflix or anything. We all stare at our phones. If we can't open a book, pop on a first episode of that. Within 90 seconds, you're going to be smiling like that and be like, oh, this is this show. I mean, it's a dopamine hit right to the heart. And but I think you're totally correct. This is going to do the same thing, highlight these artists, lift them up, but in a different way. And collectively as a group, individually too. But it's not this personal. We can all relate to dating, and I think that's the troubles of dating.
That's a good hook. Yeah.
That's part of why that thrives, because it's like, wow, I'm scared to date, or I'm insecurities, and then you see people with different challenges flourishing and being brave, and so that's really rewarding for people to see, or relatable in a bizarre backwards way. We're like, well, what is wrong with me? And with this, I mean, who isn't afraid of public speaking, or getting out and tackling your fears, being part of a show? Same thing. And then if they can do it, we can all do it, in the best of ways.
And so with this,
it's inspiring.
Yeah, but with The Lion King, you've got a kind of a built-in audience of family and friends, and that support network that I was talking about earlier. But you kind of want to open this up to even more folks. I would assume that you would want folks from the community to come out. So what are they going to get when they see a My Turn Theater production? Is it kind of taking it on its own merits?
Yeah, they're going to get a show unlike they've ever seen. I mean, it's what happened to me. And that is the huge reward, hopefully, and I don't even need to hope, I'm sure of it, of partnering with Civic. We have our built-in audience. They have their built-in audience. And so with that combined, our powers combined, we're going to take over. And it's just... The thing I worry about, or do get concerns about, is people thinking, Lion King Jr., like a kid's show, or Lion King Jr., it can't be... It's special needs people, so is it a cheap community theater show, or a backroom church play? And it's entirely the opposite. All of my actors are over 18, lots of neurodivergent people or Down syndrome, youthful innocence, emotionally, even appearance. So sometimes you feel like you're with kids or young adults, but like, no, we have birthdays. It's like, how old are you, Isaac? And it's like, 42. And it's like, oh, me too. But I am surprised you're 42. They're adults, right? And we treat them accordingly, even if there's a little fight or she's pointing at me and this and that. I'm like, figure it out. You're a grown up, and this isn't daycare, and this isn't this isn't a break from your caretakers. This is a serious production. We're spending serious money, and we want serious results. And I want you to feel like you're part of something real, just like any other show. We're sparing no expenses. I got the best shadows. I got the best directors. Like, we're not here to coddle you. We're here to lift you up, show you what you're really capable of. And like anything, I think we know this. When you show people respect, they respect you back. They're not seen all the time in the world by people, or underestimated all the time by people. And when we just treat them normal, that's why the connections are so tight. And that's why, are they going to run off? Or are they afraid? Like, no, they're ready to show an audience. They're also ready to show me, they've got expectations to hold up to, and that gives us value. That gives them value, and it gives the whole process, show, and everything else value. And it makes, your initial question was, why would someone come? It isn't a kid's show. This is a dynamic, beautiful, full stage, full scale production. And it's going to feel like that, except your mind's going to be blown because these actors are so enthralling. My father at Beauty and the Beast, and he's a musician and kind of a critical one, so I tell this story. And don't get me wrong, he's listening to it and he's crying after the show. It's just so moving, and he's like, I've never been happier to hear the worst singing in my life. And it really is that vibe. It's completely on the spectrum. There are quirkier moments, and there are moments that will give you goosebumps with the quality of the singing and hitting that sweet spot in a quiet time on the stage. Full ensemble dancing numbers. It touches it all, and it will touch you too.
And maybe therein lies the appeal. It's the earnestness.
Yes.
And the fact that you aren't pandering. You're not coddling. You're giving them, all these participants, from the actors to the shadows, a bar to which they have to rise.
Yeah.
And so, that's rising to that challenge is rewarding. I would certainly think for the actors, but for the audience as well.
Yeah, and for the leadership team. The same's on me. I've set these standards, but then I have to uphold them. Get them the best stuff. Get them the best people. Don't lollygag on any details that we need fixed to move on through the show, and we're all keeps us tight, and the production is thriving. Yeah.
And so while all this is going on, Passover is like the production that keeps going,
right?
And so you keep getting kind of called back into it for good reason.
Yeah.
But Passover's been going for what, like 2.5 years now? 3 years?
3 years. June 2022. Yeah. Is when, go ahead.
And well, we should probably contextualize this because Passover, I think it's hard for folks not to have come across it by now because it has been going for a while.
Yeah.
But it's a production that started at Stage Left, directed by Malcolm Pellis, starring you, David Bullis, and Matt Slater.
Correct.
And then it was critically acclaimed. And then that production was then taken to AACT, ActFest, and swept the awards all the way to the national level.
Yeah.
And so the reason it is the production that will not die is because it was such a high quality production and just kept racking up awards. Yeah. That experience of being in that production, when we talk about rewarding. Yeah. I mean, it must have been incredibly fulfilling for you, even though you have a role that is not particularly enviable.
Oh yeah, I'm the bad guy. It's incredible what good intentions and real art and community theater can bring about. Yeah, I've done big movies with big directors. More flashy stuff, sure. And people are like, Danny, why don't you move to LA or do this or that? I've always been fulfilled in Spokane with my community. Who's going to know even Tom Cruise and 50 more years. You know what I mean? I mean, truthfully, what is vanity and ego and that kind of fame and all that? It sounds like platitudes, but it really doesn't mean anything to me. Mm-hmm. I've always had something consistently here that is grounded in community, that's powerful, from, of course, just relevantly now. My Turn Theater, Passover. Passover, we won state regionals and nationals, went to Louisville, Kentucky in 2023, and won Best Show in the Nation. I think it's the second time Spokane's done that in the history of the fest. American Association of Community Theater. So this is a community theater competition. And so we're talking about it now because after nationals, we toured it a little bit around the state, colleges, made some money off it, which was rewarding and deserved. And then we got invited to, we had joked after nationals, the next stop world, but turns out there is international festival every 5 years. Last time it was in Miami, which would be cool. This time it's in Monaco.
Yeah, I think Monaco's just a little cooler.
We hit the sweet spot.
Yeah.
So the top 18 shows in the world, it really is the Olympics of community theater, are all invited to Monaco at the end of August. They close Lion King on the 10th in the afternoon. The evening of the 10th, we'll do the final performance of Passover here, which is sold out. I'm sorry, this isn't a promotion for tickets.
I really thought there was going to be some tickets available, but already it's sold out.
It's sold out in like an hour, I think. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Which was exciting. Stage left small. The people got in there. And I do have some beloved people, even after these 3 years and a couple hundred performances, that still never saw it. And I was able to get them in there, get some tickets. So that'll be really nice for me to have them see this chapter of my life, because this is a chapter of my life that will always be there. So we go to Monaco, and from what I understand, they do have like an Olympic village. We're going to be hanging out all together, all of the actors, again, 18 countries from Japan to Spain to Ukraine and the United States. And we get to perform right when we get there, which is kind of exciting because at nationals.
So that's on the 20th. You get there, and then I think it officially starts on the 20th and runs through the 27th. Yeah. So you perform that first night.
I think we do twice. So maybe the first night and the next morning.
Oh wow!
But we kind of get it out of the way at nationals.
And then you can kick back and relax,
which is very cool. Yeah, and Monaco isn't a competition; it's a showcase. Yeah. So the kind of pressure is off there. You're not competing. You're just showing off.
Yeah.
But at nationals, we went last, which was interesting because we got to see every show over the week. But we wondered, you'd see shows and you'd see the actors, congratulate them over the week. But no one knew who we were until the final show. We were kind of the finale of the festival, and then dropped this very powerful piece of art on them, and then won the awards, and then got out of there. But this way, we get to show up, perform right away, be done, hang out in Monaco, and walk around as the Passover boys in Monaco. And everyone will know who we are, and we can make those connections creatively with people over there. We're just thrilled about it. I honestly, it's still a bit surreal. The trip's paid for at this point. We're going for, I think, we'll be there for like 10 days overall. And I kind of will believe it when I get there. Yeah, it's a pretty incredible thing that has come out of this volunteering my time to be part of community art.
Yeah, and to have that give back for so long is really nice. But I just think, I remember when Stage Left was first getting off the ground, and to think that now it's not all that many years later to have international recognition for this one performance. And with Passover, it's a play by Antoinette Nwandu, and it's very easy to think of it. It's usually framed, I think, for the elevator pitches. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a Waiting for Godot, but similar in tone, very surreal, but also it's very racially charged.
Yeah.
And it's easy to think of it as a two-hander, but your presence shows that it is a three-hander. So describe your role in this, and maybe David's and Matt's as well. So for folks who haven't seen it.
Yeah, Antoinette Nwandu is a black woman playwright, and then it's really a black piece of art. Our actors, the actors are black, our director's black. It's Waiting for Godot. If Spike Lee did it, is kind of the thing. And she says that herself. She saw Waiting for Godot. Two men waiting for something to change. That's the surrealist piece by Beckett, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of absurdist, surrealist. They're waiting for God, people say, waiting for something to change. And they're pontificating, and nothing really happens. And in our story, it's two black men on the block, on the street corner, talking about how they're going to pass over, how they're going to get up out of these problems, rise up, from classism and everything else. And they joke and they fight, but they're just kind of trapped there in this cycle of games and conversation. And my character comes in, I play two characters, as kind of a surreal, almost Colonel Sanders guy, because it's urban, it's supposed to be contemporary today, and then I come in a white suit with a picnic basket, like, hey, fellas, what's going on? I think I'm in the wrong place, I've walked off the yellow brick road somewhere, and they're taken off guard, and he's a very funny character, intense, fast, almost a cartoon character, but very uneasy. He's not safe. There's definitely something wrong here. And so he'll come in and break up their joy a little bit, give you something to think about. And then I also play a police officer who comes in, and the intentions are much more nefarious there, obviously. It's a fast show on Broadway. And when we did it stage left, about 75, 80 minutes. For competition, shows have to be at 60 minutes. You have 10 minutes to set up your set, 60 minutes to do a show, 10 minutes to tear it down. Some people who compete just do one act or the second act, or certain rules can edit it. This play, the company said we can't do one act or the second act or edit it. We have to do it. And I was like, we can't read it in an hour, let alone perform it in an hour. And it turns out we cut about 30 minutes from our original production. So now it's a blazing 45-minute one act show with nothing cut. We did it all with pace. And now we look back, we're like, what were we doing before? Lollygagging on stage. And it was good before, but now it's this, because the script is written with ups and downs. You're laughing, you're shocked, you're back to joy, you're rocked. It's this roller coaster with an explosion ending, and then you're done. And it's something that's happening more and more with contemporary plays. In and out. Mm-hmm. A 90-minute show, no intermission. Let's just tell a story. And just like we were saying earlier, it's the TikTok generation. 10 seconds is about all people got. So this version's really exciting, and it's uniquely ours. Her people at Nationals talk to us, and they're like, we've never seen our play done like this, because no one would do it at this cutthroat pace unless out of necessity. Yeah. And we fell into it. So it's really our version of Passover that we're very proud of and excited to share internationally.
And I don't want to dredge up bad memories, but timing is something that you remember full well, because you went, to regionals with Bug at the Civic.
Just state. We only made it to state. And having gone to nationals and won now, I'm confident Bug would have. I really believe it would have. It was a spectacular show, beautiful set. And we went to state and we set up, we performed, we tore down, we went to the awards ceremony, won every award, and then they announced the shows that were moving on, and we weren't part of that because we went over by 3 seconds. Yeah. And that was the end of that play. So I got my revenge here coming back with Passover.
Well, no, that's good that you're able to, and I think your name had come up during one of my conversations about Passover, sure. And when it started racking up awards, your name came up because I thought this must be kind of personal for you, because you were caught, you and Josephine were caught on a technicality, and so now, now you're able to make good on that. Yeah,
for sure. And Josephine even is connected loosely to Passover. It's a very original show with Stage Left. Was before COVID, when they were trying out pieces, and she had presented that play to all the local theaters at the time, and no one was really interested. They're trying to do pieces with representing different people, and Stage Left said yes. And so she had got this as a readers theater one night, and Stage Left kind of check with the audience, have a talk back. Is this, because it's an R-rated play? Oh yeah. Language, violence, it's all of it. And that was the very first taste, and the audience was like, yeah, we're ready for this. And Stage Left was like, okay, the little test, dip the photos in the water, and let's do it. Full-scale production. COVID happens. Yeah. And later, we bring it back. So even for Joe, he's got a little retribution there with Bug and Passover.
Yeah, it's disappointing how often, and COVID happened, is kind of the interlude, or... and sometimes the kind of sad punchline to so many stories, sure. because it ended up putting a hold on things. But you were able to come out of that, and and this moving on to Monaco and really just giving that, stage left and Spokane representing on the international stage is just a huge, huge
surreal.
honor.
Very exciting. And we're very proud of it. We worked hard for it too. It's a great show. We earned it, so we're happy to. We'll take that trip.
So here we've got Passover kind of coming to an end, and I guess that would be under ordinary circumstances kind of a fitting end for the episode. But I don't know how familiar you are, but there's this always a second part to this. We've got a lightning round.
Okay.
I'm
already sweating. I'm ready.
I noticed that, and I figured I'd make you sweat a little bit more.
Fine,
but this isn't going to test your knowledge. This is just going to be kind of open-ended questions.
Okay.
And I'm noticing one of your tattoos there, and I realize I'd never taken note of it before, but it's from the Voyager or the space probes.
Yeah, the Carl Sagan. So it's the whole tattoo here.
Yeah.
It's what Carl Sagan drew up. You know, the famous 20th century scientist. When they sent the golden record into they called them the Pioneer plaques, I believe, on the Voyager, our furthest satellite away, our drone that's just going as far as it can go. And so that's filled with different languages, sounds of animals, music from Earth. It's essentially a message in a bottle to aliens is what it is.
Yeah.
And this is what's engraved on the record, a map back to Earth. Here's what we look like. And then this is kind of the satellite behind them. An iconic drawing, I always thought, and it's just your "take me to your leader" message. So,
well, had I studied that, I would have come up with some astronomy themed question.
Okay.
But
I'm glad you didn't, because that's about as far as it goes.
This one is a little sci-fi.
Okay.
It's an either/or question. You've got a time machine, and you have to choose a time machine that only goes backward or a time machine that only goes forward.
I suppose forward, there's mysteries in the past, you know, there's a lot of opinions on what actually happened or who did what, but we have some kind of idea of that. And, you know, that can be debatable. I guess that's the point of the question. But the future's a mystery. I want to go see that it's not so bleak. But I'd probably go into the future.
Okay, so a time machine that only moves forward because you're holding out. You're an optimist at heart.
Sure, no, that's definitely true. I don't know if the answer was that.
Even after a production like Passover.
That's a good, tricky question. But I think there's more mystery in the future. That's just unknown. It would be cool to go to the past and reconcile some perceptions of what's supposed to be. But it is what it is. The future is all mystery, I think. So I'd probably go there.
All mystery and maybe some promise. There is some hope for the future.
Yeah, I know.
You wouldn't think so in these times, but I will celebrate your optimism.
Excellent. I had someone on my team.
All right, second question. The most embarrassing haircut you've ever had?
I'm wearing it right now. Started about 8 years ago.
You never had a mullet?
Oh, I had a mullet as a little kid. And that was kind of, I remember being at a barbershop and probably 6 years old. I think it was preschool or something. My mom was in there, and there's an old military, I think it's down in like Garland. Military guy is how she always frames it. But she was basically like, you know, a little bit off the back, trim off the top. And she said she was on the payphone looking at the wall, and he's just clink, shaving my head. And I'm crying. She turns around like, what are you doing? She said she threw her like soda at the wall and grabbed me. And I went home with this like half lopped haircut. And that really was the beginning of my bald look because they just shaved it all off for me and I had to go to school like that.
Oh, well, you know, it lent itself to a good anecdote. I was just thinking, I never had one of these, but, you know, you see a lot of folks, you know, you could go Vanilla Ice, you know, with the lines in the hair and stuff.
That's Matt Slater's look, though. I hear.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, he likes the zigzag.
All right. So we've established that. Your bucket list theatrical production that you want to perform in. You know, you've been in Bug, you've been in Passover.
They're such big ones, those two plays. I mean, it's really incredible how fortunate I am with some of the shows I've got to do, even more difficult ones. And that has been my thing later in my career. When you've done a lot educationally, like, you know, the years of I would do anything because I'm learning still. But there is a point where I don't need to do that again. You know, it's not as going to fulfill me, right, creatively. So shows like Bug and even How I Learned to Drive, which is a difficult show, and I don't know how I feel about my everything, but like really challenging, beautiful stuff. Spring Awakening, Passover. Bug was on my shelf for years, and it was literally my bucket list play.
Yeah.
And when they announced it at Civic, and I hadn't worked at Civic in a long time, and I was like, that's mine. No one is taking that from me. I'm going in and getting that. So, God, on the spot, I feel like I'm not well read enough sometimes.
Well, if you're having trouble,
Yeah.
I'll give you an out. And then I wondered if there's an anecdote from a show that you love relating to people, when you're out at parties and they're like, a go-to anecdote that you've got.
Well, one, since we're talking about Bug, if anyone saw that, it's by the end of that show, the set is in shambles. The actors, it's just 2 actors, me and Josephine. We are in shambles. We're covered in scrapes and scars. We're basically naked, pouring gasoline on ourselves. I'm pulling teeth out on stage with pliers. It's a bit of a horror show by the end, a real descent into madness and chaos. I remember going to lunch in Kendall Yards at the time, and it was after a matinee. Her and I, and talking about the show, and eating lunch, and this guy keeps looking at us. And then he was like, how much? And we're like, what? And he's like, how much? And what do you mean? He's like, how much to bury the bodies, And we realized, we know, but you get so used to it. We still have remnants of makeup and blood around us and our fingers and stuff, and we were drawing attention. One of my most epic theater stories is we're at SFCC, a really good season of great artists and leadership team, and sometimes anywhere you work.
Was that under Bill Marlowe?
Under Bill Marlowe, really a mentor of mine. And again, we've had jobs like this or something where the people just come together at the right time. It's just the perfect team. And we were doing Sam Shepard's Curse of the Starving class, which was also, this isn't the story, but my first naked play, walking around on stage naked. Bucket list, done. Don't need to do that again. But there's a scene in there where the father's broken down the door and there's scraps of wood, and I'm rebuilding the door. So I'm just trying to screw 2 pieces of plywood together with a Phillips head screwdriver and screws, and I'm arguing with my sister. We're in the kitchen. And they just usually have these little screws because I'm not really building anything. The stage manager, someone had put out these big mounting screws, like a couple of inches. So I've got the screwdriver over it, and we're sold out. And there's 300 people in there. It's the beginning of the second act, and I don't leave the stage for about 40 minutes. And I start on stage, screwing this together, and I'm trying to get the screw to bite into the wood, and it kinks over, and I stab myself right in the fleshy part in between your index finger and thumb with the Phillips head screwdriver. Super duper hard, yow. And mistakes on stage, especially injuries, you're going to throw, everyone cares about, no one wants to see that, right?
Yeah.
Even they don't.
And the show must go on.
Show must go on. So I stab myself, but I don't think I probably reacted too much. And I keep talking to my sister, hold my hand, I'm looking at it, it's just kind of indented, like deep gray indent on the top of my hand.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a red flannel shirt, and then I go to move the wood, and I see blood on it. And I flip my hand over and look at the palm of my hand, and it's just full of blood. And the screwdriver had gone all the way through my hand into the wood, so I completely pierced my palm there. Pick up the wood, go put that, discreetly somewhere. And the main set was a kitchen. We had a working refrigerator, stove. We cook on the stove, so you smell bacon, a running sink. So I went over to the sink, just washing my hands, grabbed a towel, kind of tourniquet, just wrapped it around there. We're still doing a scene. She leaves. I have lots of interactions. People coming in and out. Guy throwing me around the stage, beating me up. I'm thinking the audience is mortified. No one can stop the show. They just got to watch this actor survive the act, which I do. And I come on, but I assume all my counter actors are coming on knowing this has happened. And I'm like, but he's still kicking the shit out of me, I go off stage waiting for basically, a rescue team, medical crew, or someone, a Band-Aid, and everyone's just, it's work as usual, and no one knew I had done it. And I'm like, yeah, I put a screwdriver through my hand 1 minute into the second act.
And did you start feeling faint or anything, or?
Fear, I guess. No, just no faintness, adrenaline.
There's the adrenaline.
Yeah, there's the adrenaline. Yeah, no one knew. And I'm like, I put a screwdriver through my hand an hour ago. No one cares. Yeah. So that was a big win for me. I guess I got a good poker face.
And then finally, your childhood celebrity crush. Who was pinned up on your locker? Who were you? Whose photos were you looking up in Tiger Beat magazine?
Apparently Tyra Banks. I don't know. That was a pretty good one.
Tyra Banks was your celebrity
I'll
crush.
go with Tyra Banks. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, Danny, I want to thank you so much. For coming in today and chatting about My Turn Theater and then the ongoing nature of Passover. And was there something else you wanted to
I don't
add?
know if I mentioned, but that My Turn is free admission. Did I mention that?
You did not mention
So
that,
as far as inclusivity, that's another thing we're trying to do. We've tried to sell tickets. We've gone with donations, and they're about a wash. So I really want to go with that method as long as we can. So I want to encourage everyone to come out. There's no limit to access. If you don't have money, bring all your friends. If you can't afford it, you don't have to have $20 to see this show. If you got money, you feel free to spend $500 on a ticket. But we really want to fill the seats. These actors have worked so hard. You're going to be filled with so much joy. You'll never miss another My Turn show if you come to just one. And if free gets you there, we would love to have you there.